Live from a bunker in the heart of the Ozarks, a podcast that asks you to please be quiet. We can't hear our jokes dying. It's Sif Pop. Welcome to Sif Pop Weekly, streaming live most Saturday mornings or available to download later in your podcast feed, unless, of course, you're a patron.
Patrons get perks.
Patrons get those perks.
Righto, governor.
I'm your host, Aaron Dicer, and he all of a sudden isn't hungry for apples anymore. It's Andrew Ormsby, ladies and gentlemen.
No, boy.
Each week we'll chat about movies, TV, and whatever else from the pop culture universe is on our mind. Hey, it's a classic Aaron and Andrew episode today.
Oh, back to the OG ways.
Back to the OG ways. Excited to talk about a couple movies. One, I know you're not huge into the Downton Abbey universe.
Never seen anything.
So you'll be able to play the curious onlooker.
Wait, did Downton Abbey come out with another movie like before this one?
Yes, this is the second movie. Yes.
Then I think I saw the other movie out of context, and it didn't bode well the first time. So, but I'm going to make up for it because I have a lot to say about the other movie.
Yes, I'm sure we do. The other movie is Men, Alex Garland's new film from A24. Both movies in theater this weekend. Before we get into it, we don't often do this, but I do want to address some chat questions that have come in, as we're usually live when we do this show. In-Game Angel says, Aaron, you had previously said that y'all might revisit Moon Knight to discuss the finale. Do you think that's in the cards? I don't know. I don't know that we'll do a full review or anything, but we might do it as a member exclusive. We've done that before with some of the Disney Plus shows where we get up to the last episode and then we talk about the full season on the member show. The member show this week is A20. We talk about our favorite A24 movies, but maybe we can talk about Moon Knight on that one sometime. And then also back in 2017, we're going back 5 years, Andrew, on a Do We Care? Andrew predicted that the Nintendo Switch would be successful, but not as much as the Wii. Well, Andrew, the Switch has now outsold the Wii globally.
It took them long enough.
It's kind of mind-blowing because who would ever think you could do anything as successful as the Wii? The Wii was just like a cultural phenomenon.
It was, yeah.
But man, they've stuck with the Switch thing.
Yeah, I mean, good for them. I'm happy, people make money.
It's got to be because it's just, I mean, it's Nintendo's thing, right? They're willing to kind of experiment with form and function and those kind of things. Yeah. And so they're like, what if we did a console that was also a handheld? Is that portability? Possible? Is that possible? And apparently it is possible. And people really dig that idea. So.
And when we say console, we're not talking about like a Nintendo GameCube or not GameCube, but like I forget what Nintendo's like handheld, stuff used to be called. But yeah, portability goes a long way. So
yeah, well, there you go. Thank you for those comments. Appreciate the people that hang out with us live and watch live. Pretty awesome stuff. Let's go ahead and get into it. Let's start with a review of Men. In the aftermath of a personal tragedy, Harper retreats alone to the beautiful English countryside, hoping to find a place to heal. But someone or something from the surrounding woods appears to be stalking her. What begins as simmering dread becomes a fully formed nightmare, inhabited by her darkest memories and fears. As mentioned, Alex Garland bringing this movie to us. You may know Alex Garland from films like Ex Machina, which many people love and enjoy. Jessie Buckley starring in this. What did you think? Annihilation as well. Yes. What did you think, Andrew? Did you like it, love it, dislike it, hate it, or it was just okay? Tell us, Andrew. Where do you land?
I'm gonna go with.
I'm sure it's easy to sum up in one word.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with. I really didn't like it.
Okay, really didn't like it. I'm gonna go with really liked it. So this could be an interesting one. I guess that means I get to start, right? We usually start with whoever likes it the most. Man, is this a mother situation all over again? This is one of those things where if you can stomach the form, there's some really interesting metaphor and thematic stuff going on here.
Yeah.
Some real like thinky stuff to process, really important stuff about gender and all sorts of stuff. So like there's a lot of stuff going on in my brain. And it outweighs the part of me that's like, it's not the kind of movie I want to see, but like I get what's going on here. So I was really impressed. And honestly, even the stuff like and I guess without spoiling it, I'll just say there's some, let's just say some graphic human stuff that happens towards the end of this. If you've seen the movie, you know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And I don't approach that stuff and go, ooh, gross. I approach that stuff and go, this is like a very real thing that's being represented in a metaphorical way.
Is it?
Kind
you want to
of.
backtrack at all, Aaron, on that statement? You're going to stick with that.
All I'm meaning to say in this part is just, I don't come away going, oh, gross. For me, when I say it's a movie that it's not necessarily the kind that I usually like to watch or whatever, it's talking more about the darkness involved. There's a real darkness to it, kind of a horror movie vibe. Not even kind of, there's a real horror movie vibe here. And it's definitely kind of one of those social message horror movies, which allows me kind of an in to be able to say that I enjoyed it. Always a weird word to use when you're dealing with a movie like this, but I just think there's a lot to talk about here, and I always love that. I love that stuff. So,
for sure.
So yeah, what are your first thoughts?
So I really liked a lot of this movie. I really did. The question is, can 10 minutes of footage ruin a film? The answer is yes.
You just didn't want to see it. You're just like, I don't want to see that. I don't need that in my life.
Let me tell you that also. I haven't been able to think of anything else for the entire week besides that one section.
So
and
it's kind of so is it like a trauma thing even? Like there's kind of like a trauma element to it?
Yeah. I'll tell you this. So in my theater, one person got sick. 3 groups got up and left.
Wow.
And the rest were doing that uncomfortable laughing. Like
that is so different than my experience. And I had like a half full theater.
Mine was full. Yeah.
And
not at the end, but yeah.
I had a half full theater and everybody seemed to just be processing. Like nobody seemed to be like laughing or horrified not visibly horrified, I should say. Yeah.
Yeah, my theater definitely was. I could hear the person next to me whisper to the person next to them, like their partner, and go, "I shouldn't have had that edible."
No, you probably shouldn't have.
No, but I'll say this: like I said, I liked everything about the movie besides that one section, and because here's the thing. I think it's saying a lot of interesting stuff about gender roles, how, in like a stereotypical toxic masculinity, it's talking about all these amazing things. But at the same time, when you get to the ending of this movie and those 10 minutes that we're talking about here, that overshadows everything that I cared and liked about this movie to where I have to, really think. I have to really focus on all the parts of this movie that I really do like. Because what happens at the end of this movie is so wild and insane. I mean, this movie walked up to Everything Everywhere at All at Once, and after it said, oh, we're going to make the weirdest movie of all time, this movie just said, hold my beer, and went for what is one of the most vulgar, grotesque.
Graphic. Let's go with graphic.
Okay, fine. Graphic. What you liked it? No, I'm not going to say you like this part of the movie. But what is this section of the movie trying to say?
I think it's trying to do a few things, and again, without spoiling it, it may be difficult to kind of talk around this.
Sure,
but I think it's trying to do a few things. One involving the normalization of a very real part of life. There's something it's doing with the understanding of when it comes to gender and the idea, especially of biblical gender roles, the idea of the apple in the garden, the idea of, like one of the first things that God says after they have their conversation about the forbidden fruit is that, women are going to deal with pain during childbirth. And there's this whole thing about being a woman that has so much to do with being able to, make a baby. Like there's something there that is being dealt with in asking us to confront the very real trauma and reality of what all that means. And then there's also something there about the unbroken circle, the idea that toxic masculinity breeds toxic masculinity, the idea that, patterning is a real thing. And so, you come from somewhere before you that you learn things from, and it's hard to break that cycle sometimes. And it's also yet another way that the movie is saying that these men specifically that she is dealing with are the same. They are all in one way pieces of each other and similar. There are several ways the movie says this, and I really enjoy that symbolism and symmetry that the movie does with a lot of that.
I want to jump off of that. How most of these men are the same in the scenario for her. I want to talk about how awesome Rory Kinnear is.
Right?
I mean,
probably the best 30 performances I've seen this year from Rory Kinnear.
Yeah, exactly. I was about to say it reminds me of Anomalisa and Split.
Anomalisa. Yes, yeah. Oh, Split too. Yes, yeah. Although Split's a little bit different because it's it really different. Is just this. Yeah. But Anomalisa,
but I'm talking about like performance, like the way he has to like portray all these different people. But yeah, it's very Anomalisa-esque. And I was like, wow, this is a really, really difficult thing for an actor to do. And he did it astonishingly well.
If you haven't seen this movie, this must be very confusing to you, us talking around some of these things. But I do think it's part of the movie's presentation. We may do an in-show spoiler section with this one, just to briefly mention a couple things, because I don't think it needs a whole sift spoil, but
no,
we'll warn you when we're getting into that. But there are some things I want to just say out loud, and they might be a little bit spoilerish for some. So what else?
Jessie Buckley, I think she's found her element, because I think she does really well in like this semi-horror-esque genre. She has a way of keeping you grounded in a ridiculous isn't the right word, but a surreal environment. Yeah, I think she's an amazing actress, and I just love seeing her and stuff.
Yeah.
There's a section in this movie that takes place in a tunnel with her singing and echoes. It's probably my favorite part of the movie.
The music in this movie overall and the sound design in this movie is chef's kiss. Like, it is so good. And that section is some of the most brilliant sound-based movie making I've seen in a long time. It's beautiful. Yeah. I agree.
Yeah, and the way it works with silhouettes and stuff like that. Yeah.
And again, there's all these themes about, that section takes place in a tunnel, which could be representative of the birth canal, and just there's all this visual symbolism and imagery through this entire movie. So
anything you want to talk about?
I've kind of been dropping bits and pieces here and there. You mentioned Jessie Buckley. I think she's spectacular in this. I think she's asked to pull off a lot and a big range, and I absolutely believed her performance. One of the interesting things, and maybe we're probably about 5 minutes from finishing this thing up, so let's go ahead and just be willing to talk about a few spoilers here before we do. Just overall, I think we've already kind of said it, but this is a very one of the most cautious recommends I can give, because obviously this movie is going to be off-putting to some, but but it is brilliant. I do think it's brilliant. And Andrew would kind of fall on the other side of that coin, I believe.
Yeah, man, it sucks because 90% of this movie I was really digging, and I think it's
that last
really
scene.
good.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's that last scene that ruins the movie because it's traumatizing to watch.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah. So yeah, spoilers here for a little bit for Men, probably for the next 5 minutes or so. So the reason I want to bring this up now is because the thing we were talking around earlier is that, all of the men have the same face. All of them, from children to priests to police officers to the stalker. They all have the same face. Jessie Buckley is asked to do something very interesting here where she isn't, I don't know if the movie is saying she isn't aware or if she's just not recognize it, except you can feel in her that there is a similarity here. Like she's not like shocked, like, how do you have the exact same face as this person? Which in a real world, obviously, if you see a man's face on a child, that's going to be your reaction. But there is still a simmering little bit of like, what is going on here? Why are all men like this? That is something I'm sure many women deal with, this idea of, understanding men and who they are and those kind of things. So I really appreciated that part of her performance. And I don't think it was easy to do. I do have a question for you, since we're right here on the men all doing the same thing. Does her friend from home also have his face?
No.
Are you sure? Even just
Gail,
a little bit.
Are you talking about Gail, Riley?
Maybe even just a little bit. Like they've put like a little bit of him on her. Do you not think so? It's possible.
I could be wrong. I could be wrong. But from what I remember, I just remembered
it's Gail Rankin that plays the part.
Yeah, Gail Rankin.
Yeah. I just wondered. There were times when I thought I saw like his eyes in her, and I wondered if the movie was trying to say something about that even women sometimes have masculine, because she's kind of playing like an aggressive role in the whole situation too.
Oh yeah, I'm coming. I'm gonna come get
Right. So it was interesting to me.
Well, there were those moments where the screen glitched and we did see Rory's face.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I could be wrong. Honestly, the Samuel, the kid, that was the most like, what's going on here? What is this? That's not, that face isn't right. That face isn't right.
Yeah. There's also the thing the movie does where the injuries that she is creating in these men during the last pursuit and kind of the horror movie part where she's being actually pursued and has to defend herself. The injuries that she is creating match the injuries of her late husband. And man, it's just such a brilliant way to understand, like, oh, this is a movie about the trauma of relationship and tragic ends to relationships. And even the bird, when it flies in, the bird's leg is broken in the same way.
Yeah.
Like it's I don't know. I found it all really, really fascinating.
Here's one issue I had with the movie. I get that all the men in this movie have the same face and that they're supposed to be, the different types of, masculine behavior, like there's the overbearing, there's the creepy, there's the stalkery. Why Rory's face? Why Rory Kinnear? Is he a representation of somebody else in her life, or is he just
I think
a
he
face?
is men. I think he is men.
Okay.
He is men. And the fact that we come back to James, her husband, is the bookend. But no, Rory is men. Like if there were a monster in this movie, the monster is men, and that is the name of Rory Kinnear's character, even though it's Jeffrey technically when he starts. But yes, that's my interpretation.
Okay, I just didn't know if I missed something, like if he was to represent like a father figure to her, or if he was to represent something.
I don't think so. Okay. Although there could be little elements of that with especially the caretaker character that he plays. which every character is creepy in its own way. But yeah, I think that's my understanding. Really, to me, if I were to pull like one theme from the center of this, I think it has to do with guilt and blame. I think this is definitely
Yeah,
what we're dealing with their marriage, with the situation around what happened with their marriage, and the idea that from the very beginning, a man is telling her, it's your fault that I'm this way. It's your fault that I'm doing this. And man
yeah,
after man in this movie does that to her. It's your fault that this is happening. Even when she's, doing stuff in self-defense or whatever, it's your fault. Even if you look at the biblical allegory of the apple,
yeah,
what are Adam's first words when he's confronted about this? It wasn't me, it was the woman you gave me. It's this whole idea that this gaslighting idea of that's all you, it's not me. Like,
yeah.
you make me act like this, you make me do this. And I think that is the center that everything revolves around in this, if I'm reading it correctly. So
No,
yeah.
100%. Yeah, there's definitely a biblical element to this movie that is um very prevalent, especially in the church, with the
Mhm.
that I want to say altar, but it's more like a podium,
Yeah, it's like a sculpture podium with the
yeah.
screaming man face on one side and the birthing woman on the other side.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and there's stuff going on with nature and the idea of I think at least a lot of the stuff with the stalker character represents, well, I was made this way. I'm just a man, it's my primal instincts, kind of
Yeah.
thing, as an excuse. So yeah, man, so much to unpack here. And I guess at the end of the day, that's probably why I come away just going, yeah, I think I'm on the liked it side. Even
Yeah.
though, again, not exactly the kind of movie that I'm like begging to see.
No.
So yeah. Yeah.
No. Yeah. 90% of the movie I really, really liked.
But you know what? You can't. The movie doesn't work without the last 10%, though. You know
Oh,
what I
yes, it
mean?
does.
Yeah, I don't think
You could
so.
definitely find a different ending to this
Oh no,
movie
no.
that
You maybe could find a different ending. I'm just saying, if you told somebody just watch the first 90% of the movie, I think you're.
oh, yeah, no, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. For some people, I might like, hey, mom, dad, watch 90% of this movie, then just turn it off right whenever
Mm.
Jeffrey gets in the car and turns around.
Oh man, the sound design of the screams in this movie.
Yeah, they
Like
they match up tonally with the music.
pitch, tone, and pitch.
Yeah.
It's so. I find so much impressive about this movie. So yeah, that is
No,
men.
yeah, we didn't even talk about it. Alex Garland, with every single movie, he proves that he is a visual master.
Hmm.
His work and the way he's, you know what? I forget the name of the lady who directed Hereditary. Uh,
Who directed it? That was Ari Aster that directed Hereditary, right?
yeah, Ari Aster. This felt so much like an Ari Aster movie, like
Yeah.
like a very
Did
grounded
you say
knowledge.
lady? I'm trying to figure out the gender thing. Ari Aster is a man. Um,
Oh, I always thought the Ari. No, you're 100% right. Yeah,
Not that it
that's on me.
matters.
What was I? I was
It matters
no,
for
I'm
this
thinking of.
discussion, but
I was for some reason in my mind. I had in my head that the same person who did Babadook also did this.
yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes, yeah.
no, but that is 100% wrong. No, yeah, Ari Aster. Actually, even the Babadook.
Jennifer.
I think there's an there's an understanding of the horror genre that Alex Garland totally just
Yeah.
has down. So
I
yeah.
think I had two. This is a similar experience to two other experiences. One I already mentioned was Mother, and
Mother!
it's very similar to Mother in that there is some traumatic stuff in Mother. Not I don't know quite to this level, but there's definitely some stuff going on there. But more the metaphorical side of things is kind
Yeah,
of
and the
why I mentioned,
biblical.
and the biblical side of things is why I mentioned Mother.
Yeah.
And then the other is Midsommar, which
I haven't seen
speaking of Ari Aster,
Ari Aster. Yeah.
which that is really where it's like a movie where it's like, yeah, I can understand how some of these visuals would traumatize people, but there's something about it that is so brilliant and appeals to me on an intellectual level, in a thematic level, that I really like the movie. The other similarity, although more Midsommar than this actually is not daytime horror. There's some daytime horror here, but there's also night and dark and those kind of things.
Yeah.
But I do like when a horror movie is like, no, it just presents itself as, I'm not trying to trick you by putting everything in shadows and scaring you by those kind of ways. I'm scaring you because what you actually are seeing is a traumatic. So they kind of reminded me of each other in that way. There you go. That is Men. A very
does
cautious
not pass the
recommend.
Bechdel test.
It is. You're right. Wait, do they have a conversation? Her and her friend have a conversation about something other than men?
I think there's only one time in this where she's trying to give her a tour of the house.
Yeah, could be.
Other than that, new.
Yes. All right, let's move on to another pleasant trip to the English countryside. It's two pleasant trips to the English countryside. Let's talk a little bit about Downton Abbey, A New Era. The Crawley family goes on a grand journey to the south of France to uncover the mystery of the Dowager Countess's newly inherited villa. As mentioned, Andrew is not a Downton Abbey fan. I am a Downton Abbey fan. My wife and I watched this show together. Absolutely loved it. It is very much a soap opera. The time frame is over the turn of the 19th to 20th century. This movie brings us into the 1930s. And where a lot of the plots revolve around stuff that was happening in the 30s. It's enough past World War I, and World War II isn't, right upon us. And so it's kind of that in-between era of what's going on. If you are a Downton Abbey fan, you will know many of these characters. In fact, one of the things I've liked about the movies is they really do bring everyone back that's still alive. Spoilers, people do die in the television show. And bring them back for new adventures. This is, for me, kind of, this is my Avengers Endgame. It's so many characters trying to give them all plots, give them all purpose, and put them in a situation that makes sense. On the liked it, loved it, disliked it, hated it, or it was just okay scale.
Where are you, Aaron?
I'm going to go with a low side of liked it. Yeah, I'm just going to stick with low side of liked it. I was going to say high side of okay, but no, it's better than that. Low side of liked it, maybe even middling into just a straight liked it.
Okay.
And
question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just real quick. So this doesn't take place in Downton Abbey.
So, a lot of it does. A lot of it still takes place in the Abbey.
I was just going solely off of the synopsis where you said that they go to the south of France. So,
and they do go to France, and that is one of the major plot lines. I think there are two major plot lines. There are certainly many, many minor plot lines, but there are two major plot lines. One is that they're finding something about the Violet character, which is Maggie Smith, who is brilliant in Downton Abbey. She's probably the best reason to watch this show. She is so funny. Her lines are so quippy and interesting and funny. So she has apparently inherited some sort of villa in France. And so the family's trying to figure out why this person gave her this villa, what that means, and things around that nature. The other big plot line, I don't need to explain to you because I can just say, watch Singing in the Rain. It is literally the same exact plot as Singing in the Rain,
really?
which is the idea that movies are changing from silent pictures to talkie pictures, and the woman in the picture, they ask Downton Abbey if they can film at the Abbey, and so they're making this silent film that they have to convert into a talkie, and the woman doesn't have a nice voice, and so it's hard to do. Literally the exact same plot as Singing in the Rain.
And so Maggie Smith has to sing, for her.
You're close.
At the very end.
You're close. Yeah. Michelle Dockery actually has to do it, but spoilers. So yeah, I really do enjoy these characters. I enjoy this place. I think if you're into the relationships of all the people here, you're going to find something interesting with all of them. The show, despite being 100 years ago, or set 100 years ago, still finds ways to deal with some modern issues in some things that are more modern. There's definitely a very a very large homosexuality plot line through one of the butlers, Barrow. That has been in the show. That was in the first movie. It is in this movie as well. And there is part of me that's like, I hope this is realistic that this family would treat this way. I just wonder if it would actually be like that, like that kind of thing where it's like
in the 30s, it was illegal,
Yeah. So I wonder like that kind of thing. But I like the way the movie is choosing to do what it's doing. Yeah, I had a really good time. Dominic Quest comes in, and I'm trying to remember who plays the actress. I don't see
Daisy
it.
Ridley.
It is not Daisy Ridley. Maybe Laura Haddock, if I'm reading this correctly. But anyways, they come in and do a great job. Hugh Dancy plays a director that comes in, and so it's nice to add kind of new people to the situation. When you look at something like this, Andrew, and it's not something you're into, and maybe you did see the first movie. I can't remember if we reviewed it together or not. What would you think would appeal to you about, like, if you were like, okay, I'll start watching the show, what would that be? What part would be the part that you're like, that's the reason I would start watching this?
If the show does deal with like what's going on in the world around them, like at the time, like World War I and stuff like that. And
yeah, it definitely does.
Here's always been my biggest, and I'm probably wrong, but social elitism and like
it's a lot of rich white people.
Here's, and this is going to sound awful, but I'm just going to go ahead and say it, and then I can unpack it afterwards. Hearing stories about how social elites and very, very rich white people have problems too doesn't appeal to me. It's why I don't watch Succession,
right.
Because in my mind, as someone who is definitely not in that spectrum of the social elite, I don't want to hear that they have problems, because in my mind, I want all my problems to be solved with money, which I know isn't true.
Everything would be perfect.
Yeah. Everything would be perfect. So, but I understand to err as human, there's going to be problems. Money doesn't fix problems; it just creates new ones.
Well, and to be fair, the show isn't just about the upstairs; it's also about the downstairs. In fact, that's what you'll hear people call it, an upstairs downstairs drama, which means it's about the social elite, but it's also about the working class who works underneath them and how they relate. And there are.
Oh, did I lose you?
The maids, the butlers, the people doing the work for them, as there are the people who are the lords and the ladies, above. And the show also deals with how the times are changing by the time we get to the 20s and the 30s, where that's really looked down upon, and that they have to figure out what it means to have this giant abbey that needs a staff of 30 people to help run it or whatever, and what that means, and if that's something they want to continue doing. So I don't know. It seems like it handles that stuff in a fairly realistic way, which is one of the things I like about it.
And they're not royalty, right?
Oh,
they're just rich.
I lost your audio, so hold on. I don't know if that's just me, but I cannot hear you anymore. Does not look like you're muted. All right, Phil says he can hear you, so this is somehow just me. I have just lost audio, so give me a second.
Mic check.
Let's see. I'm not sure. Again, I've been having computer problems, so I may have just changed my output somehow. Let's see here. Interesting. Yep, and it's no longer recording. Something is not coming into my system somehow. You can try to leave and come back in. I just think this might be on my end with my computer messing up. So Yeah, go ahead and leave and come back in, and we'll see if we can continue this. If not, thank you to our live viewers. We'll figure something out. But obviously, if I can't hear Andrew, we can't continue the show. So something on my end glitched. That's got to be my computer doing something.
Can you hear me now?
No, I can't hear you. It's definitely fine on your end. So I'll even come back. How about that? All right. Be right.
Well, world, how's everybody doing? Another fun day. Let's read off what Downton Abbey is about. A chronicle of the lives of the British aristocratic Crowley family and their servants in the early 20th century.
I learned that from Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson in the hit movie Skyscraper. Turn it off and back on again. That's what that's what solves everything.
Good.
I can hear you now.
Sweet.
Go ahead and finish your thoughts. Whatever you were saying when I lost you.
No, I was for the first time reading the plot synopsis for Downton Abbey, what the show is about. So
nice. All right. Well, I think then here's what I will say as we finish out talking about Downton Abbey: A New Era. This may be one that I'm just talking to a few people who love the show or a few people who have been curious. I understand that. I know that. I do know it was packed at the viewing I went to. People were dressed in like 20s and 30s wear and like
flappers and all the...
people dig this show, and I am one of them. So you might want to check it out. Downton Abbey: A New Era is recommend from me. Before we head into it, go ahead.
It does fit the overarching story with like the show and everything. It fits in well. It doesn't feel like it's forced.
Yeah, the writing on this show always seems to do a good job of being, since the first season was a little uneven, but after the first season, it really feels like it found its tone, knows what it wanted to be, because you can kind of go two ways with soap operas, right? One way you can go is insanity. You can just do the craziest plot lines, aliens abducted the ghost of my, uncle's hidden
who is now
affair,
the father of my baby.
Right. Yeah, exactly. You can do that, or you can kind of go with a more earnest approach of trying to do realistic and what it is. And I think the show kind of tried to do both a little bit when it first started, and went more into the earnest. And I really like that because it feels authentic to me. These characters feel authentic. And I really do enjoy them. So yeah, there you go. Downton Abbey: A New Era. Before we head into the best ever challenge, a reminder that you can be a SIF Pop member. If you want to support SIF Pop and what goes on here, feel free to do that at Patreon, patreon.com/SIFPop. There are some pretty cool perks there that you can check out, including bonus podcasts. So we record some extra content for our members. This week, we talked about our favorite A24 movies. If you're wondering which A24 movies we like the most, are the most interested in, and we even talked about some of the ones we dislike the most. You can check that out as a SIF Pop member at patreon.com/SIFPop. And beyond all of that, thank you so much to those who do support and those who are even thinking about supporting and checking it out. Really appreciate it. That again is patreon.com/SIFPop. All right, let's move into the best ever challenge.
Let's do it.
Okie dokie. So we've got Downton Abbey and Men. Would we call the home in Men a castle? It's pretty old, at least.
There's a castle in Men, but
that's
I don't
true.
think...
There you go. So we're gonna do best ever movies with a castle. We can make this fairly broad. I went pretty specific. I think most of the ones I have castles really featured in the movie. So let's kick it off at number 5. What do you got, Andrew?
It's going to get Trump, but Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Have it at 5. Let's talk about it now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, most quotable movie ever. One of the funniest movies ever.
I think that's right. I genuinely think that's correct. I genuinely think it is the number 1 most quotable movie of all time.
Yeah.
Maybe it fights with The Princess Bride for that. I don't know, but
Another
it's,
movie with a castle in it.
that is true. Well, spoilers. But yes, Monty Python is so quotable.
Yeah, love it. Well, it's just one of the best comedies. Your number 5 was also Monty Python?
Yeah, so we're on to your number 4.
Howl's Moving Castle.
Yeah, talk on it.
Yeah, my favorite Miyazaki film. It's brilliant. It's one of the very few that I recommend the English dubbing, solely because the voice actors they got were just astounding. And that's me, recommending the dubbed version, not solely because I'm a proponent of dubbing, but I think the dubbing is just fantastic. Great movie, very weird, multiple viewings, and every single time you find something new to treasure and love about it.
Good choice. Good choice.
Your number 4.
My number 4 is probably the biggest stretch of the category for me, but I think it works. I'm going with Citizen Kane. And I just think that is a cat, because it specifically calls it a castle a couple times, and that may be a little bit metaphoric, but it also starts with it in the background looking like a castle. And, there is this idea of the modern, I'm trying to think of the word, rich person, who that is their castle, and they've built, a different kind of modern castle. Citizen Kane is widely considered to be the best movie ever made by many, many people. I don't necessarily feel that way. However, I am well aware of what a transformative movie it was for the movie industry, and what Wells did in Citizen Kane, and why it is so respected. It is pretty earth-shattering filmmaking for the time. So yeah, if you watch Citizen Kane, I would highly recommend, highly recommend you
watching the dub version.
Well, yeah, watching the Roger Ebert track along with it. He does a full commentary track on most of the discs that you can get, and it'll give you some keen insight into why this is considered as great a movie as it is. So that's my number 4 is Citizen Kane.
Yeah, I'll just echo everything you said. It's not my favorite, but I understand why everybody has it as their number 1.
Yep.
Yeah.
What is your number 3?
Braveheart.
Nice. In my honorable mentions.
Yeah. I love Mel Gibson. His movies are always astounding, and kind of like in Men, he doesn't shy away from the graphicness of everything in a different way. It's more based in reality than Men, but it's such a an amazing tale of the thing about Braveheart that a lot of people forget is the movie it's a love story. It's a revenge love story, and it's hey, there he is, look at him.
Audio podcast, Andrew.
Then why are we doing YouTube? For those of you, it's just a picture of Mel Gibson with the blue face paint popped up. Yeah, I love the movie. The score is incredible. It's a beautiful movie.
Yeah, it is
very violent, though.
It is very violent, and that is certainly a Gibson aesthetic for sure. But it is also earnest and emotional, and a really interesting retelling of that story. So yeah, I don't begrudge the pick at all.
Nice. Your number 3.
My number 3 is Beauty and the Beast.
Yes.
I really enjoy this movie, and it's right there in the heart of Disney's kind of golden age of animation. And it is Stockholm Syndrome the movie, but it is still it is still a pretty impressive feat, and it's gorgeous as well. So yeah, I could great songs too, lots of really singable songs. So.
Wasn't it the first animated movie nominated for Best Picture?
I believe so.
Yeah,
I believe that is the case, and there's only been a few. Yeah. What is your number 2? I think
Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
Yeah, that is a pretty prominent castle. I guess I would have had this on my list if I'd have.
Castles have tapestries.
Yeah, it's way prominent enough to be in this category. You're absolutely right. I just didn't think of it that way.
Yeah.
But I really.
It's not the main focus of the movie for sure.
Right. Yeah.
But
yeah,
it's the best Indiana Jones movie. The dynamic between him and Sean Connery is impeccable. It's It's funny. It's tense. It's almost a perfect film.
I'm starting to wonder because you and I both have that opinion. So say we all that this is the best indie movie.
Yes.
I'm starting to wonder if that's actually the majority opinion now because I hear it so many times, and I'm like, I just would assume Raiders is, at least like on a serious film level. I think most people would put
Yeah.
Raiders first for the importance of, kind of Spielberg doing it and what it meant. But I just think this is such a more rewatchable movie. It's so much more fun. The dynamic between, Harrison Ford and Sean Connery is so good. I'm starting to wonder if not only are we not alone, but if maybe more people actually think this than I thought. So
Our
yeah.
crusade to convert.
Hopefully it won't be our last.
Bearing fruit. Yeah.
Hopefully it won't be our last one.
Yeah.
All right, my number 2 has been mentioned. I have Princess Bride at number 2. Definitely Castle involved in Princess Bride. Speaking of quotable movies, I think it does kind of battle for one of the most quotable movies of all time.
Yeah.
There are so many great moments, so many great scenes, so well toned. It's just such a pitch perfect tone throughout. Like it never feels like, and again, maybe I'm thinking this because I'm looking at Carrie
Ellis.
Ellis.
That's how I've always said it. It's probably Yules or something like that.
Yeah, it probably is. Anyways, I'm looking at one of the stars of Princess Bride and thinking it doesn't quite ever push the needle towards Robin Hood Men in Tights. Like it never feels like you're getting towards parody. It definitely feels authentic and sincere. But it's also really, really funny and willing to be in kind of goofy land a little bit with some of the characters and how over the top they are. It's an insane balancing act to pull that off, and I think it does it really, really well. And I think it gets away with a lot because it's a storybook, right? It's an old man reading a story to his ailing son. So yeah, also a Christmas movie. Despite never being a.
Yeah, it's only whenever you get the 6-7 minutes of on-screen reality world, that you can say that it's a Christmas movie.
Yes, exactly.
I love this movie so much. There's very few movies that whenever I even think about the movie, it just makes me feel happy. And this is definitely one of those movies like, hey, have you seen Princess Bride? Oh yeah. It just puts a smile on your face even thinking about it.
It does. It absolutely does. All right, I think we're on to our number ones, right?
Yeah.
All right, what is your number 1 best ever movie with a castle?
The funniest movie of all time, Hot Fuzz.
Oh, I didn't even consider this one, but you're absolutely right. I have no problems with this pick. You like this movie? I've never heard you talk about it before.
Yeah, I know, it's weird. Any of the Cornetto trilogy movies, they're all brilliant comedies. This is a great cop comedy while at the same time being a great cop movie. Kind of like how Shaun of the Dead is a great zombie comedy while at the same time being a really great zombie movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's the funniest movie ever made. So there we go.
It is very good. A really fun watch. It is Hot Fuzz. My number 1 shouldn't be a surprise to people who know that there are castles in Middle Earth. My number 1 is the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
It's the real number 1, but
Yeah, it is. It's been the number 1 of many best ever challenges because it is one of my favorite movies or series of movies of all time. And just a reminder, we do consider the 3 Lord of the Rings movies one movie, one complete story. They were filmed at the same time. It's just divided up into 3 presentations. It really is.
You know what's funny? As I was thinking it, because obviously it is number 1, but as I was thinking, I'm like, are there any castles? Because they either call them keeps or
it's true.
No,
like
the
word
castle is never said, or towers or anything like that.
Right.
But yeah.
They're definitely castles.
They're definitely castles, yeah. Helm's Deep is a castle. Minas Tirith is a castle. I'll say it again. It's the real number 1. I just didn't put it on my list because everybody should know by now.
I am due for a rewatch on these. It has been way too long. I love these movies so much, and I really need to just sit down and watch all the extended editions again.
I did.
Yeah.
A couple weeks ago.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
It was a day.
It would be.
It was a day.
Yeah, I bet.
Sitting
I bet
down
it was.
to watch all these.
There you go. Those are top 5. What about honorable mentions, Andrew? Did you have any other
I got
movies
5.
featuring a castle? Go for it.
A24 movie, The Green Knight, we just talked about.
Sure. Yep.
Yeah. Kingdom of Heaven, the director's cut. I
Gotta
can't
do the director's
emphasize
cut.
enough. You got to do the director's cut on that movie.
Yep.
My favorite movie of last year, The Last Duel. You know, the movie's so good. The Young Frankenstein, Castle.
Sure. Yep.
Yeah, gotta love anything that Mel Brooks does. And then my number 1 honorable mention was Princess Bride. So
nice.
Yeah.
I would also throw in Frozen, which I really enjoy. Would Gladiator count? Would those be castles? I don't know. I couldn't decide. So I just.
What is Italy's castles called? The Colosseum is not a castle.
No.
We'll just count it.
Okay, fair enough. And
Yeah.
then Chitty Chitty Bang Bang features a big castle as well, and I find that movie really, really fun. So there you go. Best ever movies with a castle. If we missed anything or you have anything you want to let us know, feel free to hit us up. feedback@sifpop.com. All right, let's do some buried treasure to finish this off. What's that one thing in any area of pop culture that you want to make sure people know about right now?
You want me to start?
Yeah, go for it.
Season 3 of Love, Death, and Robots just dropped, and I binged it all in one day.
How was it? I haven't watched it yet. I've watched the first 2 seasons.
I think season 3 is my favorite season.
Oh, okay.
Out of all of them, I was
consistently good. Like all the episodes.
Consistently good. There was maybe 1 or 2 episodes where I'm like, it was a little bit of a lull, but the variety that you get with Love, Death, and Robots has always been one of my favorite things. So like from art style to story beats and stuff like that. There is the very last episode in this. I think it's called Jubilo. It's it's difficult to explain. It's not my favorite of this season. I'll just say that, but it's the one that stuck with me the most. It's beautiful on a level that's hard to describe. Like, I keep going back to that, and it brought me to tears based solely off of just how beautiful it is.
Oh my!
And no words are spoken during that entire segment. It's really interesting. Yeah,
you've got my interest peaked.
There are 2 episodes in this that were just having me rolling laughing. There's one called I think Miniature Zombies or something like that, where everything is told from like a zoomed out, sped up perspective, like how you would see miniatures done, just like people about this big just running around. And it's how a zombie apocalypse starts and how it ends. It goes from that to the ending in like 3 minutes. I've just sped up Benny Hill, like seeing things run around like ants. Wow. Oh, it was so funny. And then there's one with a Marine platoon taking on a robot bear. That was hilarious too. Nice. Yeah, that's a weird sentence to say. I don't think
what percentage this season would you say? Percentage love, percentage death, percentage robots?
Love, I would say 80%.
Okay.
Death, 100%. Robots, surprisingly, maybe 50%.
Interesting.
Not many robots this season.
I mean, it's basically a way of saying sex, violence, and sci-fi, right? Like that's kind of what
exactly what it is.
Yeah. And it's really kind of that heavy metal aesthetic, right? Like this is the kind of the modern idea of heavy metal, which is like we're going to take the extremes of life, things that are often considered vulgar or whatever, and we're going to put them in sci-fi stories, cool sci-fi stories. So that's Love, Death, and Robots.
My favorite episode, I'll just throw out real quick. I think it's called Bad Voyage. It's either the first or the second one that you see. Just astounding storytelling.
Yeah. Jagged asks, are any of the episodes, and this is our live chat, are any of the episodes as amazing as the Christmas one from last season? That was a great episode.
That was a crazy episode. We're talking about the one with Demon Santa.
Yeah.
That one stuck with me for sure. I'm surprised how short some of these are. Some of these are only 3 minutes long.
Really? How many are there this season?
10, I think.
10? Okay.
10 or 11, yeah. Like the one I was talking about, the zombie one that's all sped up really quick, that's like 3.5 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Not all of them are like that, though, but yeah. This is probably my favorite season because it's the most consistent.
Would you say it's probably just like between an hour and an hour and a half watch if you watched them all together, or do you remember?
Something like that, yeah. I don't think any one is more than 20 minutes long.
Okay.
So
they probably average out, what, around 8 minutes? Something like that?
Probably average roughly around 8 or 10 minutes, yeah, somewhere around there,
okay.
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Love, Death, and Robots Season 3 is out. That is on Netflix.
Yes.
HBO Max is where I'm going to go. I'm going to talk about the new season of Flight Attendant, The Flight Attendant on HBO Max.
Sell me, Aaron. Sell me on this show.
Well, it's interesting because HBO puts out a lot of shows, and they're always generally successful. I remember when Flight Attendant came out with season 1, and I remember watching it, enjoying it. Kaylee Cuoco, I think, is phenomenal in this show. I think she's so perfect for this role. She's hilarious. I love a lot of the other actors that are in this as well. It has a really interesting, fun sense of humor. It's also doing some interesting things, and it's not afraid to get emotional. All that stuff is true of season 1. It also appears to be true of season 2. Now, I've seen the first 4 episodes of season 2. I believe all but the finale have aired, quote unquote, aired. And actually, I actually don't know if this is on HBO or not, or if it's just HBO Max. I actually, like my perspective on that has so changed. Like I never watch anything on television.
I think it's HBO Max exclusive.
Is it exclusive to HBO Max?
I think it is.
So anyhow, season 2,
Max original.
Season 2 completely changes from season 1. And what I mean by that is it's an entirely new plot. This is a show, and I love this. It's almost like it's like anthology seasons where now we're doing something completely different. Even the concept has changed. If you remember the season 1 concept, she woke up in bed with somebody who had been murdered, and then it was solving that mystery, what happened, who was responsible, all that kind of stuff was kind of the mystery. And part of her solving process was this dead guy would appear in her visions or dreams, and they would have conversations about things. Now, it wasn't supernatural in that he was giving her any information she didn't already know. You know, it wasn't like, clues from the grave. It was more just that was the kind of the concept.
Yeah.
So in this season, there's another mystery, a completely different mystery. This is very much a murder mystery kind of show, which I really enjoy. And in this one, she's not seeing the victim. She's seeing different versions of herself. And so she's having conversations with different versions of herself about the mystery and trying to solve it. And it really lives or dies on Kaylee Cuoco's talent. And if you're not digging what she's doing, you probably won't like the show. But I am totally digging it, and I'm enjoying the first half of season 2. So I'm excited to see where the rest of it goes. But wanted to let people know about that because it really does feel way under the radar. I don't hear a lot of people talking about this show, but I do enjoy it.
Honestly, that's why I was asking you to sell me on it, because it pops up every single time like a new episode of Barry comes out, and I pull up Max.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, Barry, real quick, I had to get caught up because I'd only seen the first season. So I watched season 2. There's an episode with a taekwondo guy and his daughter. It might be like one of my favorite episodes of any show ever.
Yeah. No, you're not wrong. It's a great episode of TV. Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, I guess I'll pick up Flight Attendant.
Yeah,
it's worth a pick. It's worth a watch.
Obviously, I enjoy it considering all the stuff I haven't watched yet. That I decided to watch this above a lot of that stuff should tell you how much I enjoy watching it. And I am kind of in that zone now that I'm falling behind on so much of my television. I'm in that zone where if I have time to watch TV, I just want to watch something that makes me happy and is fun for me to watch. It's why I've missed some of the other, big kind of like darker kind of shows. I think of whatever the one that Andrew Garfield was just in or maybe currently in. It may still be airing. I'm not sure. And then We Own the Night was another one on HBO that a lot of people are talking about. I'm just like, I'm not sure. like I just want to, if I've got time, I just want to kind of smile. Yeah, We Own the City. That's what it is.
Yeah, We Own the Nice one with Joaquin Phoenix and Marky Mark.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. So yeah, it should say something that this is one that I've chosen to kind of dig into when I have a couple extra minutes. So yeah, there you go. The Flight Attendant season 2 is on HBO Max, and Love, Death, and Robots season 3 is on Netflix. Well, we did a podcast, Andrew.
Huzzahs!
Between the two of us, we managed to make it happen. Really, really impressed with both of us. We deserve all the accolades, all of them.
Yes.
Every last one. Thank you so much for joining us today for Sif Pop. It is part of the Studio DNA Podcast Network. You can find out more about other shows on the network at studiodna.media or by searching Studio DNA in your podcast player. Huge thanks to Andrew for hanging out again today.
Who's Andrew? I'm Rory Kinnear.
Big thanks to producer Phil for producing the show.
Who's also Rory Kinnear.
Aren't we all? Aren't we all, unfortunately? Much love and gratitude as well to our Sif Pop members for giving monthly to make Sif Pop a real thing. Support starts at $3 a month. You can have all the bonus episodes at a level, some other different fun perks at different levels. Just check all that out at patreon.com/SiftPop. Lots of ways to connect with us. Feel free to leave a comment, a rating, or a review at Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen. And if you'd like to email us, you can do that too. We know how to do that. It's feedback@siftpop.com. And finally, if you're having a good time, your movie-loving friends will probably like this show too. So let them know about it, and that listening is much easier than bisecting your arm with a mail slot. We will be back. We will be back next week in the danger zone, Andrew. Taking a highway through the danger zone.
Man, I wish I had some aviators around. I could just pop on.
I'm currently thinking for our second review, Bob's Burgers. We'll see. I'll let you know for sure.
Man,
at some point
why are you picking all these shows I've never seen a single episode of?
But that one at least will be funny.
Okay.
It should be able to stand up on its own. It's always nice sometimes to have a perspective of somebody who doesn't watch the show, and if the movie works without watching the show. Which, by the way, I will have that perspective. I've only watched one episode of Bob's Burgers, so I'm not exactly someone who watches the show either. But those might be our reviews next week. We'll certainly talk Top Gun, and we will see you then. Bye.
Bye.
Jagged, good to see you in the chat, man. Bunny with Guns. I hope you got to hear some of the men talk. If not, it'll be in your podcast feed.
Yeah. Or if you go to YouTube, you can just rewind the video and watch it there.
Yeah. Yep. That's it. You can do that as well. Thanks, guys. Thanks for watching live. We're going to take off. Appreciate you all.